Hey everyone, and welcome to a rapid-fire deep dive all about hiring VR developers.
It's a hot topic for sure.
It really is. The demand is just skyrocketing as VR becomes more and more mainstream.
Absolutely.
And we're not just talking gaming anymore, are we?
No, no, no. VR is popping up everywhere. Healthcare, real estate, education, you name it.
It really is amazing to see all the ways it's being used. And before we dive in any further, if you want to find the best VR developers for your project,
I was just about to say.
well, then you have to try the 5 questions at theperfectdeveloper.com. They will point you in the right direction. All right, so let's unpack this a bit. You've got this killer VR project in your head, but where do you even start looking for developers?
Well, you have to understand what makes VR development different from, say, a mobile app or a website.
So true. Walk me through that. What makes these VR developers so special?
Well, think about it. VR developers aren't coding for a flat screen. They're building whole immersive worlds.
Right.
So expertise in 3D modeling and texturing, even animation is critical.
So they're like digital architects trading blueprints for polygons and pixels.
That's a great way to put it. And then there's the real-time rendering piece. Everything has to happen instantly in VR so users feel like they're really there.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That means developers need to be masters of optimization, making sure things run smoothly, even with crazy visuals and interactions.
I can see how any lag or choppiness would ruin the whole immersive experience.
Totally. And on that note, let's not forget about user experience.
It's always important, but especially in VR, right?
Exactly. VR developers need to know how to design intuitive controls, how to minimize motion sickness, and just create an overall smooth and engaging experience.
It sounds like it takes a deep understanding of human perception, almost like psychology as much as coding.
You got it. And of course, there's the VR hardware itself.
Right. Oculus, Vive, PSVR, all that.
Developers need to be familiar with all of it, the ins and outs, capabilities, and limitations of each system.
Okay, so we've got a good handle on what these core skills are. But where do you actually find these talented individuals?
That's the big question, right?
$1 million question.
Yeah.
Where do these VR wizards hang out?
You can always try the usual places, LinkedIn, job boards, your own network, but that can be a real time suck.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And it's hard to know if you're even targeting the right people.
There's got to be a better way, Rep.
There is. A platform like theperfectdeveloper.com is a game changer.
Tell me more.
They connect you with pre-vetted VR developers who have the exact skills and experience you need.
So they do all the heavy lifting for you.
Exactly. No more sifting through endless resumes and portfolios.
That sounds like a dream. But let's say you found some great candidates. How do you actually evaluate their skills? How do you know they're the right fit?
That's where the interview process comes in. Asking the right questions is key.
Makes sense. What kind of questions are we talking about?
Well, theperfectdeveloper.com actually has a set of 5 key questions they recommend.
Interesting. What kind of things do they cover?
Well, it goes beyond just technical skills. They dig into their problem solving, their communication style, their passion for VR, the whole package.
You're not just looking for someone who can code then, but a real VR partner who can help bring your vision to life.
Precisely your.
I like it. So we've talked a lot about what to look for in a VR developer, but let's get practical. Our listeners ready to take the plunge. What advice do we have for them?
Honestly, don't get overwhelmed.
Easy to say.
Huh?
VR is complex stuff.
It is, but at its core, you're looking for a good problem solver, someone creative, a good communicator. Those are the fundamentals.
So you're saying don't get hung up on specific software or languages.
Exactly. A talented developer can pick those up, focus on the core abilities. Those are much harder to teach.
So look for signs of those in their portfolio, how they approach problems in the interview.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Now, another big question. Full-time, part-time, or just outsource the whole thing?
Yeah, that's a tough one. What are the pros and cons?
Well, full-time gives you control, someone dedicated to your project, but it's pricey and maybe overkill if you only need VR for a short time.
So a freelancer or contractor might be better for a smaller, one-time project.
Makes sense, right? And outsourcing. Think specialized expertise, or if you need to scale up fast. There are some awesome VR companies out there that can handle it all.
So many options.
Yeah.
Sounds like there's no right answer. Really depends on your situation.
It does, but that's where theperfectdeveloper.com shines. They can help you figure out what's best for you. Full-time, freelance, agencies, they've got it all.
Like matchmakers for the VR world.
Ah, I like that. Okay, so you've picked your approach, you're interviewing. How do you know if they're really good?
Yeah, if you're not a developer yourself, it's tough to judge. What are the telltale signs?
The portfolio is key. Look for strong 3D environments, how they tell a story, intuitive UI design.
So more than just the technical specs, you're saying experience it like a user would.
You got it. And in the interview, ask them to walk you through their process. How do they tackle a project, anticipate challenges, overcome them?
So it's not just about the finished product, but how they got there, their thinking.
Right. And don't forget references. Talk to past clients, colleagues, see what their experience was like working with this person.
Always good advice.
Mm-hmm.
Now, onboarding, you found your VR superstar. They've said yes.
Mm-hmm.
How do you make sure they hit the ground running?
Onboarding is huge EE, especially for VR. Make sure they've got the right hardware, software, everything set up to succeed.
Creating a welcoming environment right from the start.
Exactly. Mentorship is gold too. If you've got experienced VR folks on your team, pair them up. That quick learning curve is so valuable.
Don't just throw them in the deep end. Give them support.
Yep. And crystal clear communication is key. Make sure they understand the goals, the timeline, the budget, everything. Keep them in the loop. Encourage questions.
Make them feel like a valued part of the team right away.
100%. Now, about keeping them around. Talent like this is hot property, so how do we keep them engaged, wanting to stay?
Especially in a field like VR, where everyone's fighting for the best people. What's the secret sauce?
One big thing is growth. VR's always evolving, so give them chances to learn new skills, go to conferences, try new tech.
Investing in them, their future, not just today's work.
Right. And make the projects exciting. VR devs are passionate about pushing limits, so give them that freedom, let them be creative, make a difference.
Give them the space to shine, basically.
You got it. And a positive work environment can't be overlooked. Feeling valued, respected, a healthy work-life balance, these matter huge EE.
It's not all about salary then, it's about the whole package. Making people happy to come to work.
Makes a world of difference. And last but not least, be on the same page about your VR vision. Are you all in on this tech or just testing the waters? Developers pick up on that. They want to work where there's passion, shared belief in VR's power.
Find people who are excited about the same stuff you are. Makes sense.
Right. Get that alignment, and you're on your way to building a killer VR team.
This has been incredibly insightful. From VR basics to hiring to keeping those awesome devs around, we've covered a lot. But there's one more thing. It's been in the news a lot lately. Ethical considerations in VR.
Can't ignore those, especially as VR gets more powerful and widespread.
Exactly. What are some things we should be thinking about?
Well, privacy is a big one. VR can collect so much data on users. We got to be careful with it. Transparency and consent are vital.
People need to know what's being collected, how it's used. What else?
Bias is another. If the devs building these experiences aren't from diverse backgrounds, we risk virtual worlds that reflect real-world inequalities.
VR has such potential for connection, but only if it's built fairly for everyone.
I agree. And the psychological impact is huge. VR can be real, it can affect us deeply. We have to be careful not to create harmful or exploitative experiences.
It's heavy stuff, but these are the conversations we need to have NOW while VR is still young. We can shape it for the better.
That's the exciting part, and it's awesome to see so many devs and companies already thinking about this, building ethical, responsible VR.
That's reassuring to hear. It's something we should all be pushing for.
Absolutely. And when hiring, look for devs who share those values, who want to use VR for good, who aren't afraid to tackle the tough questions.
So it's not just about their code, it's about their character.
Couldn't have put it better myself. And guess what? Theperfectdeveloper.com, they get that. They help you find devs with both the skills and the ethics to build amazing, responsible VR.
Always coming back to them. And speaking of, got to remind our listeners about their 5 questions resource.
Oh yeah, those are gold.
5 key questions to ask potential VR devs. Really helps you assess their whole package, beyond just the technical stuff.
Simple, but it works.
If you're serious about building a top-notch VR team, go check it out at theperfectdeveloper.com. You won't regret it.
And we'll be right back after a quick word from our sponsor.
We're back. And, we've been talking all about finding the right VR developers, but building a truly awesome team, well, that takes more than just talent, right?
Absolutely. You need the right culture, a vision, and a strategy to keep those developers engaged and pushing the boundaries.
And in a field like VR that's constantly changing, staying ahead of the curve is crucial. So how do we empower these developers to keep learning and innovating?
Well, one of the best ways is professional development, plain and simple.
Makes sense, but what does that look like in practice?
Conferences, online courses, maybe even dedicated time to tinker with new tech. anything that helps them grow.
So it's about baking learning right into the company culture, not just an afterthought.
Exactly. And you know what else works wonders? Knowledge sharing.
Tell me more about that.
Create space for your developers to showcase their work, teach each other, mentor. You could even do internal
I
hackathons.
love that idea.
It taps into that collective knowledge everyone learns and grows together.
Absolutely. And sometimes the best thing you can do is just give them the space and time to be creative.
Couldn't agree more. VR development takes a lot of focus,
Oh, for sure.
flexible schedules, breaks when they need them, even time to pursue their passions outside of work. All of that contributes to better work.
It's about working smart, not just hard, making sure people are energized and inspired.
Well said.
Well,
Now let's talk future of VR.
okay, we've touched on some trends, but what does it all mean for those hiring VR developers? What should they be looking for in candidates to be ready for what's next?
The biggest thing, adaptability.
Oh, that makes sense. VR changes so fast.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
So you need developers who are quick learners, comfortable with uncertainty, excited by new tech and approaches.
So it's not about knowing today's tools. It's about being a lifelong learner, being passionate about what's coming next.
That's the key.
Yeah.
And you know something else that's becoming really important? Systems thinking.
Interesting. Tell me more.
As VR experiences become more complex, more interconnected, developers need to see the big picture.
So it's not just coding, but understanding how it all fits together.
Right. Designing solutions that can scale, that are sustainable.
I see. Very important.
And last but not least, we can't forget those good old-fashioned communication and collaboration skills.
The soft skills, always crucial.
They are. These VR projects are getting more ambitious, more multidisciplinary. Developers need to work well with designers, artists, everyone.
So it's about being a great communicator, a team player, someone who can explain this complex stuff clearly.
You nailed it. And once again, theperfectdeveloper.com. They can help you find those well-rounded devs.
It's like they're the superheroes of VR recruiting.
Haha, I like that. And don't forget the 5 questions resource.
Oh, right, those 5 key questions.
Yeah.
Super helpful for any hiring manager.
Absolutely. Simple but powerful. If you're serious about VR, head over to theperfectdeveloper.com and check it out.
Can't recommend it enough. Well, I think that about wraps up our deep dive into the wild world of hiring VR developers.
That's been a pleasure.
We've covered a lot of ground, from understanding the unique skills needed to building the right team culture, even touching on some of the ethical considerations.
It's important stuff.
It really is. Hopefully our listeners are feeling a bit more prepared to take on this exciting challenge.
I hope so too. I want to leave everyone with one final thought. The world of VR, it's brimming with potential. This technology can change industries, connect people, create things we never even dreamed of. So if you're passionate about VR, if you believe in its power, don't wait.
I love that. Find those talented developers, build that dream team, and go create amazing things.
Exactly. And if you need a little guidance along the way, well, you know where to go.
ThePerfectDeveloper.com has your back. And that's it for this mini deep dive into the world of hiring VR developers. We hope you found it valuable. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep.